One thing I find fascinating is how, after nuclear weapons were first dropped on Japan, there was a concerted effort by all types of people: musicians, engineers, artists, writers, academics, scientists, and politicians, all to discourage the usage of nuclear weapons ever again. For example, John von Neumann coined the term mutually assured destruction, and he was very keen on using the acronym MAD to highlight how insane mutually assured destruction actually was. Rod Serling wrote an episode of The Twilight Zone based around a fallout shelter to help convey his concerns and anxieties about nuclear war following the Berlin crisis of 1961. But one more unorthodox way of conveying this concern was through Roger Fisher's 1981 Harvard article. In March of 1981, in the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, Roger Fisher proposed that the nuclear codes be kept in a capsule right next to someone's heart, and this person would carry the codes wherever they went and follow the president while also carrying a butcher knife. And essentially, if the president wanted to use the nuclear codes, they would have to take the butcher knife and kill the person carrying the codes in order for them to be able to carry them out. The idea being that if the president was to murder tens of millions of people using nuclear arms, they would have to murder one person first. And at first, people were concerned about this. They thought it was an ethical problem. Why should the president have to kill one person when he needs to kill tens of millions of people? I've been thinking about this article a lot in response to the United Healthcare shooting, and in a similar vein to how Stalin says that one person's death is a tragedy, however, a million deaths are a statistic, I also think about how we as Americans are not the best at visualizing lots of people dying. The idea being that we have accepted it as a reality that thousands of people must not receive the care that they need in order for these health insurance companies to survive. It's something that I disagree with. I don't think that we need to accept it as a reality. But it also makes me wonder how we have so many people who are claiming that it is so wrong for this person to have been shot, but it's just as bad or even worse that their livelihood requires people to not receive the care that they need for conditions that they have gotten through no means of their own. Noted how expendable the life of the CEO was also in the case of United Healthcare. Have they announced any major sweeping changes to their policies after losing one of their major executives? I haven't been able to see anything so far. You may correct me if I'm wrong, but the fact is that they have accepted a reality, not only where thousands of their own customers, people who pay premiums into health insurance, must not receive the care that they need in order for them to benefit the shareholders, but also the loss of their own chief executive officer is essentially necessary, and they must continue doing what they're doing despite that loss. Not only is Fisher's article interesting because it shows us how we relate more to the death of one person as opposed to the death of millions, but it also kind of highlights how essentially that sort of system is actively in play. When you see these companies come up with their budgets and their ideas, they account for predictable loss. And therefore, this idea that, one person has to die or 50,000 people need to die in order for us to benefit the shareholders is something that speaks volumes as to how quickly people are okay with that, as to how quickly people accept that as reality. But what do you think, though? Like, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about entering into an industry, if you were to work in health insurance, where essentially you have to accept that people are going to die or that people must not receive the care that they need because it's simply not profitable? Do you think that you would do the same thing? Do you think that these people think about that sort of thing? Or am I maybe oversimplifying it? I'd like to hear your thoughts.